Alright, today I'm playing the Haunted Zone on PSP. 0 point set here, but Tale 1, the cramped elevator. It's some visual novel thing, so. I had returned home late, as usual. I looked at my watch. It was past midnight already. Everyone in the apartment had turned off the lights. It was like nobody was there. I pressed the button to call the elevator. It was on the B1 floor, but it moved up right away. The elevator doors opened. Someone else was already in the elevator. It was a lady with long hair. She was staring down at the ground, facing the wall. Even though the elevator doors had opened, she didn't turn to face me. And what is she doing just waiting in the elevator? Come on. The apartment building was 13 stories tall. I had no intention of going up the stairs. The elevator was small, with an area of 4 meters or roughly 13 feet. I hesitated about getting in with such an odd lady, but I figured I had no choice. I mean, you do have a choice, even though 13 flights of stairs doesn't sound that pleasant. I didn't look at her. I just pushed the 13th floor button, and then I reached for the close button. That's when it hit me. The 13th floor button was the only one that had been pushed. None of the other buttons were lit. So she's just waiting in the elevator for fun. Where was this lady facing the wall with her eyes cast down like that? When did she even get onto the elevator? Did she get on from the V1 floor just as I called it? Was the elevator already moving when I pressed the button to call it to the first floor? There was one other thing I noticed as my hand reached for the close button. Another strange thing. Part of the wallpaper was peeling off, and I could see something behind it. They were letters that looked like they'd been scratched into the wall. Don't turn around. The door closed just as I noticed the letters, yeah. Pleasant. The elevator started moving to the top floor. Nothing like this had ever happened to me before. It was freaking me out. I decided that I wasn't going to turn around. I just keep looking forward until I reached the 13th floor. Second floor, third floor. The elevator kept going up. I focused on the floor display, but I felt so unsettled I couldn't help but think about the lady behind me. Just as we passed the fourth floor, I heard a sound from behind me. Turned up the PSP audio. I focused on the windows of the elevator doors. Oh, maybe that's a bit too loud. Between floors, the wall was black, so I could see the reflection of what was happening behind me then. The lady's head had been pressed against the wall, but she slowly turned to face me. I couldn't see the expression on her face. Her long hair kept it hidden. I looked away, back at the floor display, but we're still only at the 6th floor. I heard her take a step. Looking at her reflection in the window, I could see that she was stepping right up to me. In a few steps, we'd be standing side by side. Here in this small elevator, there was nowhere to run. Oh no. That's, the mastery badge, that eye. The last time I looked at the floor display, it's at the 10th floor. Her footsteps stopped right behind me. I could see her face reflected in the window now. Her eyes met mine. She kept looking at me with a stoic expression and then slowly stretched out her hands. Her hands passed over my shoulders as she reached her arms over from behind me. Yeah, I'll turn back and check off her arms for the achievement. There's achievement for all choices, so. We arrived at the 13th floor. I shook off her arms at that moment. Nobody was there. She had to have been there the whole time, but she wasn't there now. I'd seen her reflection the whole way up. I heard her footsteps clearly. Behind me, I could hear the door close. She was standing outside the elevator now. Lit by the lights out there, I could see her face. She was smiling. Oh no, you are the ghost in the elevator now. I pressed the door to open the elevator. It wouldn't open. The elevator started to go down. I tried pressing all of the buttons, but the elevator wouldn't respond. Now we'll trade places, okay? I heard her say to me. The elevator continued going down. Dang. The end. I'm the elevator ghost. Tragic. Don't look back no matter what. We reached the 13th floor. The elevator doors opened, so I flew right out. I no longer felt her presence behind me. I slowly turned around and looked back into the elevator. Boo 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 boo. Nobody was there. Why would you go back into the elevator? Hello? I got back into the elevator to confirm she was gone. There was no trace of her. Why would you go back in? Hello? But the strange thing is, the letters that had been scratched into the wall were nowhere to be seen. The wallpaper was set perfectly in place. Was I imagining all of that? What just happened to me? I peeled at the wallpaper where the letters had been scratched, tearing it back again. Don't turn around. The letters were still there, scratched into the wall by who knows what. Bro, what are you doing? Just leave. Oh yeah, just leave. Come on. Okay, tell 2. No refunds, no returns. Sounds like a horror story in a convenience store. A classic indie horror uh, experience. I've recently started bidding in internet auctions. Oh, okay. Not a convenience store then, maybe. After entering college, I'd found myself a part-time job. Nope, wait. Part-time job is very indie horror, PS1 style graphics game. And I'd been wanting to do something fun with the extra money I had to spend. When I got home from work that day, I headed to the computer and turned it on. I had my eyes on a Polaroid camera. We were gonna be holding a party to welcome new students, and someone suggested doing a photo registry of the people who'd attend. With a Polaroid? You might wonder why I'd buy a Polaroid camera in a time when digital cameras were so prevalent. I was wondering that, yeah. It's because they don't save any data. Okay. Girls I'm meeting for the first time might not feel comfortable letting me save their pictures, so one of my classmates suggested a Polaroid camera. I mean, you're still taking their pictures, but whatever. We drew lots to decide who would get it. That was also a suggestion. Plus, there was something more familiar and impactful about this sort of photo. Yeah, you have to, like, develop them. Muscle memory kicked in, and with a click of the mouse, I opened the usual web page. I made the obvious entry into the search bar and... Okay, that was just checking how audible that was. Voila. Over 100 product results were lined up. I didn't know all that much about cameras. I figured that as long as I can take a photo, it should be fine. I started looking at the results, starting from the top. Yep, that's how you buy that. Bro, is this gonna be the Goosebumps camera? Say cheese to die or something? Used in pristine condition. No scratches or smudges. No refunds, no returns. Yeah, say cheese and die. That's, bro. Well, that's what this camera is. What had caught my eye was an antique camera. I liked the quirky design, and the bid was currently at exactly 1,000 yen. AKA like $6, dude. $6.50 nowadays. The fact that the seller had no history of transactions gave me pause, but the cost was only about the same as a reasonably priced lunch, so I made a bid. The next day, I received an email that I'd made the winning bid. The doorbell rang. Why is this image so blurry? Hello? My classmate, who had come over to visit, got the door for me and he even stamped the receipt for the delivery. He said he needed to check the camera because he was worried that any camera I chose might not be all that great, but the truth is he just loved cameras and was curious about it. Yeah, I mean, sure. Like cameras, so that's fair enough. He opened it quickly, too. After ripping it out of the box, he unwrapped the camera itself. He said the name of the camera out loud, along with some numbers and letters, and as he happily held it in his hands. I didn't know anything about cameras personally, but what really caught my attention wasn't my classmate geeking out over the camera. As I moved to clean away the box, I noticed that a single photo had fallen out. The photo seemed like it had been placed in the package with the camera. It looked like it was about a decade old, with a woman holding some fireworks and a guy standing in front of her. How could you tell that is fireworks, fella? Did the previous owner include the photo intentionally before sending it? I considered the possibility as I carefully picked up the photograph. Huh? There was something odd about the photo. The girl was colorful, lit up by the fireworks she was holding, yet the man she was with looked abnormally pale. Bro, there's like two colors. What? It's black and white, basically. There's no... You cannot tell the people's skin tone. What are you talking about? I mean, he looked like a corpse. My classmate was paying no attention to me as he fiddled with the camera. Oh, it's got film in it. He pointed the camera at me, and then... Ow, it's hot! I threw the photo down as if my fingers had just touched fire. He looked at me with a weird expression on his face. Hey, what happened? I'm certain it was hot, but when I looked at the picture, I gasped. It's me. Of... The guy had vanished. Up until now, the picture had shown the pale face of some young man. I also wouldn't say it showed his face. He was looking like away from the camera. It looked like, was I just imagining things? Maybe I only thought I saw him. But wait, the more I thought about it, the more my pulse started to pound. My classmate pointed the camera at me. Let's try it out. Something felt off. I reached out to stop him. That's when I felt something behind me. Yeah, I'll turn around. The moment I turned around, the flash went off. Time to die, dude. There wasn't anybody behind me. I took another look at him, and I saw the photograph slowly come out. He held the still white photo in his thumbs and flapped it back and forth through the air. After a while, he must have figured he'd shaken it enough, and he set the picture down so we could both see it. He squinted at the picture, and then all of the color seemed to drain out of his face. Hey, what gives? He thrust the photo at me. It was still white. Seeing that I was puzzled by his reaction. He started to yell at me. You don't see it? I responded honestly, shaking my head no. It's white. He threw aside the camera and the photo. After that, with the pale expression on his face, he started getting ready to leave. What's wrong? I asked him, but all he did was mutter to himself, and before long, he was out the door. Bro's dead. I stood there dumbfounded by what had just happened, looking at the camera and the picture that he'd left behind. I double-checked it, and there was still nothing in the photo. Several days later, I got a call from one of my other classmates, telling me he'd got hit by a car. It had all happened so suddenly that the reality of it hadn't sunk in for me even after the funeral. Once I got home, though, I remembered the photo, and it got me curious. He looked so disturbed back then. What in the world could he have seen in that photo? Kind of the opposite of Say Cheese and Die, because I think in Say Cheese and Die, the person who the photo itself is of is the one who has bad luck happen to them or whatever happened in that book. It's been a while. Which is different. I'd stuck the photo and the camera in a drawer. I dug through all the junk in there and finally found them both. I took a deep breath and looked at the photo. In the photo, I could see that I had turned away. I was looking away from the camera. But my classmate was there in the picture. He was standing right in my line of sight, staring blankly forward at the camera. Oh no. He took a picture of himself on accident. No. My body tensed up and I could feel myself breaking into a cold sweat. I couldn't bring myself to look at the corner of the room where my classmate was there in the photo. All I wanted at that point was a way to make the camera and the photo disappear. My hands trembled as I tried to quickly grab the camera and stick it back into its cardboard box. But the palms of my hands had become sweaty. Knees are heavy. Or knees weak, arms are heavy, bro. Whatever. I fumbled to grab it, and at that moment, aw, damn it. I heard the shutter click. The camera pointed at a bare wall. No, I hadn't taken that photo on purpose. The fact that it was on accident surely will matter. I won't die because of it. The camera spit a white photograph onto the table. I didn't want to look at it, but at the same time, I couldn't look away. The image in the picture slowly became visible. Slowly. Very slowly. It was me, I guess. I don't know. I was in the photo. Yeah, don't take the photo, dude. I went into the future, okay? I plucked the camera out of his hands and stuck it back into the packing material. Hey, what gives? What did you do that for? He looked at me disappointed. With the camera still in hand, I looked behind me. Nobody was there. As I finally breathed out, he stood up. I'm going home. Clearly his feelings were hurt. Without saying much, he got his stuff together. Hey. I spoke up because I felt guilty and didn't want him to be mad at me. that, or I was afraid and trying to protect myself? Maybe it was a little of both. Please take... What the fuck are you talking about? Please take the camera with you, I said to him. Yeah. Okay. Let me just kill the guy, I guess. Okay. I knew I should have told him about the photo, but I couldn't bring myself to say the words. He didn't react at first. I told him I just didn't know much about cameras, and when he heard that, he took the camera, and his mood seemed to have lightened up. Yeah, okay. Days later, I got a phone call from one of my other friends. They told me that my classmate had been... I just killed him. I killed the guy. I felt like my heart was going to jump out of my chest. Entirely my fault. Hello? Well, I guess I didn't know necessarily what's wrong about it, but I knew something was up once I saw the photo. Somehow I could tell. I knew something bad was going to happen, and yet I gave it to him anyway. Told him to take it when he wasn't going to. I killed him. But now with the worst case scenario staring straight in my face, there was no way I could sit back calmly and not panic. I thought I should take another look at the email that I'd received from the seller, so I turned the camera on, or the computer on. It was gone. There was nothing to indicate that it had been deleted, but the sender's email was nowhere to be found. What was going on here? I had thrown away the photograph along with the packaging too. It all felt like some kind of nightmare. My email chimed, letting me know I just received a new message. My palms had began to sweat. I quickly clicked the inbox tray. It was a message from that auction site, letting me know I'd made the winning bid. My heart started beating faster. I hadn't made any bids. I wanted to delete that email right then and there, but I felt like even if I did, this creepy stuff was still going to keep happening. Feeling like I had no other choice, I opened the email. The item I'd won was a Polaroid camera. It was the same make and model that I'd given to him. Then I saw the sender's name. I felt like I could hardly breathe. I looked away from the screen. It was insane. The time that the camera had been put up for auction was the same time that he died. Several days later, the Polaroid camera was delivered to me. I couldn't get the words I saw on the auction site out of my head. No refunds, no returns. Ew, what was that noise? What happened? Okay. Did I not get an achievement there? Wait, I didn't get either of the achievements. Hold on. Hello? Hold on. I just rebooted the game. Hold on. Gonna see if just reloading the game works. There, okay. Fair enough. Okay. Gonna close the emulator again. Interesting that it looked like it showed Chrome for a frame, but whatever. It was just the RetroAchievements page for the game, so it literally does not matter. The next person. Begin. I felt really bad having just been pulled out of a dream. I still kind of felt out of it. Give me a break. I rolled over and pressed my pillow against my ears. Footsteps? It took me a few minutes to realize that what had woke me up was the sound of footsteps on the floor above me. Since I'd been woken up while having a dream, I guess my mind wasn't exactly sharp right now. I pulled the covers over my head and cussed them out. Fair enough, dude. What time did they think it was? It's like, I don't know, it's morning, I guess. Did they know why I chose this place? It has reinforced concrete walls. I'm tired. Let me sleep. Actually real. My pleas went callously unheard. Unheard? Unheard. And the pace of the footsteps were thumping along at a constant rhythm. The footsteps were too light to be an adult's. It was probably a kid. They'd never stomped around like this before, though. Did the person who lived on the floor above me invite a young relative over? At first, I thought of heading up there to complain, but I didn't want to get up in any sort of trouble. I didn't want to get caught up in any sort of trouble. I figured if the kid was stomping around because I couldn't sleep, then it'd only be a matter of time before things got quiet again. I guess it's middle of the night, not morning. My prediction turned out being correct. The shower of footsteps continued until the morning. Dang. The same thing happened the next day, and the day after that. The footsteps were started up in the middle of the night like clockwork. I was getting less and less sleep with each passing day, and my patience was starting to wear thin. On the morning of the fourth day, I finally called the company that manages the apartment. The phone rang for a long time until one of the managers finally picked up. I told him about the trouble I was having and how I couldn't get enough sleep. Ah, sounds like we're gonna have another resident leave the apartment in the middle of the night then. Hearing the manager respond as though he couldn't do anything about it disarmed me. I asked him if he could explain himself, and he told me about the situation. My apartment number was 604. All of the renters on the floors above me had gone missing. Every single one? All of the renters in the floors above me. Every single one. Okay. It started 3 months ago with apartment 1004. Weeks later, the same thing happened in apartment 904. Then apartment 804. It must be infectious, the desire to just up and leave in the middle of the night. The manager gave a dramatic sigh. Yeah, this is normal. But I'm the one who has to deal with the fact that they're delinquent on their payments. He said this as if he wanted my sympathy. What, did he just expect me to sit here and commiserate with him? He wasn't going to get any sympathy from me. At least 3 people had gone missing right over my head. Anyone with a lick of common sense would realize that something funny was going on here. I wanted to move out, of course, but I have money. But even if I wanted to move, I couldn't just move out that very second. I couldn't tell the manager that I was planning to move out either. It was going to take time and money. But I hadn't saved up enough money to move, naturally. In the end, I told him I'd be cautious and hope for the best, and then I reluctantly hung up the phone. Yeah, can't just move willy-nilly, unfortunately. There they go again. It had been 3 days since I talked to the manager, and the footsteps had continued as usual. I couldn't stand it anymore. I made up my mind. I was heading upstairs myself. Okay. But what the lowest quality CCTV footage of all time? Not even CCTV footage necessarily, but I kept ringing the doorbell until the door finally unlocked. With the door chain still set in place, a man in his 30s looked at me with sunken eyes. It's the middle of the night. Do you need something? He sounded irritated with me. I live on the floor below you, and every day you keep stomping around making so much noise. The man looked at me suspiciously, like he was trying to size me up. I gave an exasperated sigh. Tell your kid to behave at least, I shouted at the man. I'm the only one who lives here, he said. And with that, he shut the door. That doesn't necessarily make it better. I mean, at least you're not stomping fully, probably, then, if it sounds like a kid. Wait, open up! I continued ringing the doorbell, but the man wouldn't open the door back up. Worried I might attract the attention of the other people on the floor, I backed off and headed downstairs. I returned to my room, turned off the lights, and tried to go back to sleep. Then the footsteps started up again. They were as annoying as ever, but today there was also something eerie about them, and sinister. If that man really doesn't know anything about the footsteps, then what exactly was causing them? Curious. I tried to cover my ears, but I could still hear them. It seemed to me like the footsteps were coming closer. Like going directly above my head. I could hear them again today. I don't know how many days it's been at this point. At least a week or two. At least a week, based on the numbers before. My head felt like it was spinning. I felt funny, like I was drunk. Maybe it was the sleep deprivation doing this to me. I tried going back to apartment 704 many times after that, but I was never able to meet up with the man who was there again. His mailbox was overflowing with newspapers. Maybe he went on a trip, or maybe he went missing like the others. Either way, whose footsteps were they? I'd been a nervous wreck lately, and I'm guessing it's because I haven't been getting enough sleep. On my way home from work, I saw crows. Oh no. Crows are a sign of bad luck or something, I think. I saw crows standing out on the roof of the apartment, and they creeped me out with all their cawing. Where did the people who went missing end up going? For some reason, the crows had been flocking around the water storage tank. Oh no. A disgusting thought ran through my head. Their dead bodies are in the water tank. I tried talking to a friend of mine about it, but he told me I just needed to get some rest. Maybe my friend is right, I thought. Maybe this is all just in my head after all. I should go and tell a doctor about everything. Maybe the doctor can prescribe me some medication that'll help me get some sleep. Those were the thoughts I had as I started to nod off, until a droplet of water struck my forehead. I looked up at the ceiling and saw a stain that had spread all the way to the wallpaper. How had I not noticed before? Hello? All the way to the wallpaper? Droplets of water had been forming on the ceiling, and they had begun to drop right down onto my bedsheets. Was water leaking down from the room above me? And then I remembered. I hadn't heard any footsteps. The water wasn't stopping. It continued to fall, drop by drop. I tried calling the manager, but it was the middle of the night, so there was no way he was going to pick up. Had the man in apartment 704 returned? Or was it something else? I was lost about what to do. Yeah, visit apartment 704, sure. I didn't feel right about staying where I was. No, this is how I die. Probably. I quickly put on the jumper and climbed up the stairs, maybe. Maybe this is how I die, I think. When I arrived at apartment 704, I rang the doorbell, just like I did the last time. Meow. After ringing the doorbell for the second time, I could hear the door unlock. So there really was someone in apartment 704? I felt a wave of relief pass over me. The door had opened, just a crack. The door chain didn't appear to have been set. I waited for the man to show up, but it remained quiet in the apartment. I took a peek through the gap in the door, and I couldn't see anyone inside. The sense of hesitation inside me was getting bigger and bigger. Still, I couldn't just ignore what was going on here. The water was dripping it down in my own apartment, after all. I tried to keep my trembling hands steady as I turned the doorknob. Why did I turn the doorknob? The door was open. Hello? I could just pull it. I slowly opened the door. I heard the sound of water coming from gently, whatever. I keep saying quotes, I feel like. I heard the sound of water coming from a room in the apartment, the bathroom. I tried to flip the switch to turn the lights on, but they still didn't turn on. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it. I asked myself, should I just head back? And no, I'd already come this far. It was too late to turn back. Not really. I moved forward, guided by what little light there was, and opened the door to the shower. Ah! There was a kid inside, with no face, it looks like. Or, it looks like they have eyes. Maybe. I felt my pulse race, but I managed to calmly ask the boy a question. Hey, little guy, where'd the man who lives here go? The kid stared at me. He went somewhere else. They all did. Well, one. He went somewhere else. They all did. His voice was muffled, and it echoed as if it was bubbling up from deep under the water. I took another look at the kid, and I saw that there were drops of water falling from his hair. He's the water kid. Please don't leave me here, mister. I got goosebumps. I tried to turn away and run, but then I felt someone grab my hand from behind. The hand was sticky and wet. Please don't leave me here. My feet started sinking into the floor. It was like my feet had gotten stuck in a marsh, and I couldn't pull them out. We're gonna be together forever now, aren't we? The lukewarm water slowly started working its way inside of my body. Crazy. Yeah, just move my futon, bro. I took the futon off of my bed and moved it to a place on the carpet where it wouldn't get wet so I could sleep there. I put a big bowl in its place to catch the water that was falling. With the footsteps gone, I was able to fall asleep right away. The best night of sleep I've had in weeks. End of the story. I felt really bad having just been pulled out of a dream. I still felt kind of out of it. Who could it be at this hour? Oh god, it's what floor am I? 507 or 504, so 404? I was barely open my eyes and looked through the keyhole. A guy with disheveled hair who looked like he was a college student was standing outside the door. It's the person from the floor below me, dude. Feeling cautious, I left the door chain in place as I opened the door. Every single day you've been stomping around your room up here. You've been keeping me up at night. The very second I opened the door, the guy started throwing a fit at me. I didn't know what he was talking about. What do you mean you don't know what he's talking about? Hello? Most obvious thing of all time? You got a kid here, don't you? I keep hearing their footsteps. Put them to bed already. I shook my head no. No, there weren't any kids in my apartment. I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. Go to, like, a therapist or something. I don't know. Creeped out by the guy. Shut the door. Like, what? People, man. Who does that guy think he is? I felt something tug on my sleeve. A cold line of sweat ran down my back. There was something behind me, but I couldn't make myself turn around and face it. I could feel water seeping into my clothes from the spot where I'd been grabbed. Come on, let's play. Nice eyes. Herobrine. Bro, actually, the most stupid protagonist of all time, hello? The moment you hear that, you're like, oh yeah, okay. I'm leaving this place. You just go. Be homeless. You're less likely to die if you're homeless than in that scenario. Like, come on. There's homeless shelters, probably. Anyway, cool horror thing. Is this the only... I think this might be the only horror game I played this month. Yeah, I'm looking through. I've not played a single horror game this month other than that. That's crazy. Well, that was fun, though. Happy Halloween, I suppose.